All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the FITT Podcast. I'm here with my boy Yusuf once again. Last episode, we talked about a lot of myths in terms of exercise and diet in the fitness industry. We kind of debunked some of those and kind of gave you our thoughts about that. We're going to do a part two of that tonight as well. Similar topics, but just some more things that we have kind of heard throughout the last couple weeks and throughout our own experiences that we've heard from countless numbers of people, and that we just, are very common things that you hear coaching clients and being athletes like ourselves that we were even taught. So, Yusuf, how are you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, bro. Life is good. We're grateful every day of the week.
Every day of the week. That's how you guys got to live your guys' life. You can't just live your life for the weekend. You got to enjoy every day. If you live your life for the weekend, y'all, you don't realize you sleep like 80% of your life, or no, maybe not 80. No, about 8 hours a day, 24 hours. Okay, it's like 33% of your life you sleep. Maybe more than that. I don't know, but you can't just live for the weekend. So that's a great mindset right there. So tonight, guys, our first topic, we're going to talk about that is probably the hardest thing for people to do, is realizing that exercising and going to the gym cannot just completely diminish or resolve your issues with your diet. If you have a bad diet, exercising is, I'm not going to say it's not going to be helpful, but it's really going to diminish the results, and it's only going to delay your ability to see the results that you want to see in your body. So Yusuf, I'm kind of interested in your take on this. Um, what is your kind of thoughts on that? Because I'm sure that might be maybe what you have to deal with some clients, or what you hear when you first do intake. So what is your kind of thought on that?
Yeah, man. I tell you, I could spend a whole hour talking about this thing right here, man. Just this one topic here. Food and exercise, right? I recently made a Instagram post about this, and it's pretty wild. I made a poll on my Instagram story, and it was the poll said, choose your character. And the options were Ozempic, and the options were food and exercise.
I voted on that, and I should have just chose Ozempic just to mess with them.
You'd be surprised, man. I think a majority of people that chose Ozempic definitely were just doing it as a joke, right? And this is just
Yeah.
kind of what everyone does on Instagram. They're just messing with it. But it was pretty close. I'm not gonna lie. After it expired, I was like, oh, there's no way everyone really believes this, right? But maybe to the average person, average, American in the world, I mean, I would not be surprised if Ozempic was this popular. As millions of people are already on it, it is pretty wild. But for the purposes of our discussion, it's really, really important to know that food drives every cellular process in the body. It is energy. Food is your fuel. Food is going to really determine what happens to the scale. It's going to truly going to determine quite a few, precursors for your health and longevity, right? Um, Even if you don't necessarily exercise with weights, with resistance training, or even cardio conditioning, or even walking for that matter, food is going to determine quite a bit about your longevity, your quality of health. The processed food market, the food industry machine as a whole, is made to make money and for companies to profit. We are probably the biggest victims of this in America, where a lot of our food is just not made for quality. It's made for quantity. It's made to sell. Crops are made to yield 3 to 4 times more than any other country, which is why, I mean, a big part of our food industry is helping our GDP and helping our economy. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's profit, right? It's there to make money. It's there to improve business and provide prosperity as a whole for our economy. But our health suffers, right? Our health suffers, and lack of education in our country just doesn't really help the cause either. Food, when it comes to food, it really is the fuel, right? I'm a big believer in this, and this is even myself. Now, I know that I'm on bodybuilding prep right now. I am eating a specific way for a desired result. I don't ever expect any of my clients to do the same level of dieting and macro manipulation as I do, but I do like to really teach my clients when it comes to overall health, living healthy. Everybody has their own perception of what healthy is. And when people come to me for intake, right, for whether it's weight loss, whether it's building muscle mass, building strength, or improving their mobility. Like food is going to drive the fuel to improve you and get you better, get you closer to your goal. Food is really what's going to determine the scale weight. When most people come to me, they're looking for weight loss. They're looking to get the scale to go down. They're looking to get lighter. They don't necessarily care if it's muscle or if it's body fat. They just want that scale to look smaller and their body to be physically smaller, have them fit into smaller pants and t-shirts. When it comes to overall health, I mean, however, eating for health, for overall longevity is different than eating for specifically for weight loss. So this is why as a coach, we have to tailor all of our programs to specifically to cater to that one client and what they want. I love improving the education of people, really just giving people a general, like simple things that they can take for the rest of their life versus getting into the weeds about the nuances of fasted cardio or the metabolic processes, like the energy systems that we use when we work out. Like most average people just need to know how to eat for their specific goals. Um, I'm a big believer in eating to fuel your mood, your libido, your energy, to tackle on daily life's activities. If you're a parent and you have kids, you need to feed your body because you are going to be running out of energy by the end of the day if you're not feeding yourself well, um, let alone in the gym, improving your gym performance. So food is so pivotal to overall longevity. It's important for literally any fitness goal. I know that in powerlifting too, for competition prep, food is so important as well for
Hmm.
fueling workouts, having pre and even intra workout carbs, right? There's so much nuance when it comes to your food and your performance in the gym, whether you're here to build muscle, lose body fat. Food is so imperative to all that. It cannot be ignored.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing and the biggest misconception that people think is like they can exercise can be used as kind of an excuse to have to eat unhealthy. They're like, well, I lifted today. I can have like 5 donuts post workout. That's probably like the worst thing that people do is like they have like a shitty meal after you train. Like you got to understand, like think about it like, oh God, gonna think of a quick analogy here. Um, I guess like think about it like okay, I guess I'll think about it like this. You have a flat tire. It's not like flat, but it's losing some air, just kind of what happens in the winter time, okay? And your body's fatigued and tired, something like the tire is after a workout, okay? After driving long distances, it might lose a little bit of air. The last thing you want to do is like loosen the little knob on the tire and allow more air to come out, which is the same thing as basically putting crappy food into your body right after your workout and diminishing the results and gains even further and depleting everything that you already used even further. Because the fact of the matter is, what the first things that you'd be putting in your body when like post workout, yeah, everyone does a protein shake, but you actually want to eat a lot of carbs right after because people don't realize that when you train for however long, you actually burn through your carbs pretty quickly, and then you're burning through the fat. But then, at that point, usually people stop working out. They usually last about an hour or two of lifting, but sometimes people do burn through their protein as well. So the first thing you want to do is you don't want to just eat more protein because that takes so long to digest. Your body's not going to have any energy or anything. Like people don't realize after a workout, they still walk. You walk to your apartment, you're taking steps, you're still burning calories. Boom. Like you want to have carb intake pretty quickly. It doesn't mean having a protein bar that has a shit ton of like fat in it and sugars and all that stuff that's just going to give you a huge spike in your glucose levels and then drop you down and in your blood sugar levels. It just simply means having something like, you could have a protein shake, but maybe making a smoothie or something like that that has some peanut butter, that has vegetables in it, that has a little bit of fat in it as well too. You could put chia seeds is a big thing, blueberries, things that have carbs in them, and also a little bit of healthy fat, but also has protein in it. And you can mix that all up. That's tended what I tell my clients. Because it's just gonna kind of give you energy. I'd also say you know, for me, myself, man, sometimes after a training session, if I don't have a meal like right after I eat, I'm not gonna like meal prep in the car and have my food sit out all day. But if I don't have something in there, dude, it is kind of like the temptations are there. I would never do it. but the temptations are there to drive past a fast food place and be like, fuck, man, I'm hungry. Or like, fuck, man, like I gotta go home and now meal prep. I'm gonna grab whatever I can to kind of calm or give into my urges, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that is like the biggest factor that uh I think people kind of think about. It's like, well, I just lifted, I can go and eat whatever I want. It's not gonna, it's basically not, it's not diminishing what you did in the gym, but over time you're gonna see minimal progress, not minimal, you're still gonna see progress, but you're not gonna get, if you're looking for like trying to lose weight and just get lean, you're gonna lose the weight most likely still, but in terms of building muscle mass, that's kind of going to be depleted. You're not going to be able to get the muscle mass that you want because you need to eat properly in order to get that, not just train. You got to think about it as like putting gasoline into your car. If you're not fueling it with the proper nutrition, your muscles, you're never going to see them in your body. If that's kind of what your goal is. But I think, you know, nutrition is the hardest thing for people. It's not something that people want to do. Exercise is like, all right, I can mentally wrap my head around going to the gym and exercising for an hour or half an hour. I can go with a friend. Most of the time when you're meal prepping alone. So like it's like this is kind of a waste of my time. I could be doing other things with this. I could be doing, you know, I will say if you start doing it and making it a routine of just not even meal prepping, but sort of just like eating healthier and making healthier options, um, you're going to kind of realize that it's not as hard as you think it is. And that doesn't mean that you have to go all out and measure everything, like Yusuf does, and sometimes I do as well. I'm pretty particular with what I eat, and I do measure stuff a lot. But like I said, and we've talked about this in recent episodes, once you kind of normally most people eat, but they eat the same things all the time, whether it be healthy or good, bad, whatever it may be. So if you kind of are already kind of have an idea of what your intake is, or you were tracking everything prior and you eat the same foods, it's going to be pretty easy to tell what you're putting into your body and what you're not. So it's going to be pretty easy for you to kind of not it's like it's going to take a little bit of time, not going to lie, but for the ability to kind of track everything and realize, okay, this is how much I had, that a rough estimation, it's just going to make life a little bit easier. It's like starting any new routine. You want to start exercising, you need to go 4 days or 5 days a week. You can't just go 1 week for 5 days and then the next week you're like, oh shit, like I don't want to go and go 2 days a week. Like that's how the goals, the whatever they call them, there's a term for them, like the new year gym people who come in and then you see them, they're out by March or April because they're like, like it's too crowded in the gym, then I have to wait for machines, whatever the hell people say. I hear it all the time, it's just, there's always excuses. There's always a reason not to do something, I think is the biggest point, not just with exercise and nutrition, but just in life. I mean, I make excuses a lot, I will admit it. And then I look back on it like a week or a year or 2 years later, and I'm like, well, shit, man. If I would have just not made that excuse back then, I could have made so much more progress in whatever task or thing I wanted to accomplish, goal I wanted to. So that's the main point is just, what me and Yusuf talked about with that particular is like, you cannot achieve your goals just with one thing alone. And you probably heard if you listen to the right people, if you want to get in shape, it's 80-20. 80% what you put into your body, 20% in the gym. Because if you think about it, exercise is great and amazing for your body, but nutrition is great and important for your body as well. But also, on top of that, they equal out like this, in terms that they're both great for your body. But nutrition, more than anything, allows you to exercise and improve your overall performance in the gym better. And your tolerance to activity, time under tension, ability to load more weight, just be able to feel less sore, less fatigued. That helps with all of that recovery process. So that's where that nutrition, that 80-20 comes into play, because if your nutrition is good, it's going to make the ability to get up in the morning and then want to go exercise in the morning or go to the gym. It's going to make you feel more motivated if you put the right stuff into your body. So
It's a
anything you
fair,
want to comment more
totally.
or
I
kind of
mean,
want to
literally,
throw
what you just said was a game changer for me.
in?
I would say the first like 8 to 10 years of coaching, I was all about that sleep is recovery. Sleep is the only element of recovery. We hear recovery a lot in our industry a lot. Recovery, right? Sleep. I mean, sleep is a huge component to
Mhm.
recovery, to bouncing back from workouts, being able to wake up the next day energized and not feeling like you got hit by a bus. And the more I learned that food and what we put in our bodies is literally a signal that we're sending to our body. We're sending a signal. If we literally don't have enough of the materials to build the house, we're not going to build the house. If we don't have enough of mortar, the brick, the rebar, the concrete to assemble this house, and if we're missing rebar, for example, we don't have enough bricks, your house is not going to be strong. It's not going to be a full, complete house. I think a lot about recovery now. Now that I read a lot more, now that I get mentored and I have a coach myself, the more that I learn that how much protein you're getting, the timings of your meals do matter as well. Just as you said about post workout,
Mhm.
I look at all the behaviors on a more behavioral aspect with my clients, and I really talk about fueling your body for your goals of exercise. Most people don't regularly take part in exercise. I read some article that damn near 80%, I think it's like 78% of men and even more women just don't exercise. Just they don't exercise. They walk around, they don't take part in intentional exercise, which is mind blowing to me, right? But the food that you're putting in your body, how much protein you're getting, the amount of sleep you're getting, how much water you're getting, are you getting enough electrolytes? Are you sweating a lot? Like there's so many individualized components to recovery, and food is just as important as sleep is
Oh
to
yeah.
recover and bounce back from workouts, to actually see progression in the gym. If your performance is being hindered and you're crazy, you're a student, for example, I see a lot of this. Students who are just in class for like 8, 9 hours a day, they come home, they have to feed themselves. And by the time that you're actually in the gym, if you're a student, it's like 7, 8 o'clock, and you have to go to bed at a decent time to wake up for the next day. And your meals have to be already planned. Like, especially in our fast paced lives, when people have jobs, school, responsibilities, kids, pets, even responsibilities as a whole, your
Oh yeah.
foods have to be intentional. If we let this world dictate the food that we're eating, we're just not going to be living long. We're not going to be living fulfilled. We're not going to see huge progression in the gym. We're not going to feel our optimal selves if our food is not in check. And it really comes down to that recovery aspect. Food
Oh
is
yeah.
so important for recovery.
And I think that's a great point because many people don't think about that. They think about mobility, stretches, all that stuff. And
Cold
uh,
plunge, right?
exactly. And obviously that stuff is all important for recovery as well too. And sleep is vitally important. I mean, you hear about how important sleep actually is. Um, I'd also say as much sleep as you do get, sometimes what you eat can affect how you sleep. I'm sure there's research. I've seen articles about it. Have I done research on it? No. But I know there is research out there. And you might have, I know I've seen it on different news websites and different research journals. But have I done my own research on it? An in-depth dive? No, I've just kind of heard things, seen the titles of articles, and kind of like the synopsis, really of it. So, but we're going to talk about another thing that I just kind of brought up in a little bit of context is stretching. Um, so the big concept, I mean, I'll be honest, like we did this basketball practice, football practice. Well, it's not so much football, basketball a lot. Like just do like stretching before you do any activity, like team stretching. Football was a lot of dynamic movements, and that's because we had a lot of strength and conditioning coaches and trainers, and they were all advocating that. But the big thing you learn about growing up, like before gym class, you do stretches, blah 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 blah. Like even during like people who do hard manual labor, what do? They do stretches. Like people are under the conception and preconceived conception that stretching should actually be done before exercise. And honestly, that is completely false. There is a lot of research out there that shows that is actually not true. There actually is research. I actually made a post about this. I'm going to show you guys it so you guys know where to go. Okay, so you type in the FITT podcast and you got to scroll down a little bit on here. but it actually is, it's maybe got to scroll down 2 times, I believe. Let's see. And it says this, should you stretch before or after exercise? What does the research say? So go read this article, and this will kind of really, I actually screenshot article, I cite it, don't worry. And I highlight the important facts and findings of the article and what it actually showed and what they came up with. And I find that to be very, very, you know, important because basically what they found was that static stretching it can be used to for post performance exercise to decrease injury prevention, improve tissue elasticity, tissue extensibility, which just means improving your overall flexibility, decreasing your ability to, for soft tissue injuries, tendon injuries, ligament injuries, fascial injuries like muscle injuries. It does decrease that risk post-exercise. Pre-exercise, it's not the opposite, but they basically show that there's no evidence that it actually helps decrease injuries, that it actually improves time under tension and your ability for muscles to maintain, um, uh, capacity under specific loads, whether it be running constantly, jumping movements, lifting in the gym, high performance athletes. If you notice, a lot of those athletes, they do not necessarily stretch. It is different types of stretching. It's a lot of dynamic movements. If it is stretching, they're getting it done passively by them. And it's more what I call PNF patterns. So it might be more where the trainer might be stretching your hamstrings, while then the client is pushing down. So you're getting some muscle activation while getting a stretch in that muscle. So we're not getting a static stretch, constant stretch of that muscle. So it's more things like that, like a lot of reciprocal inhibition, a lot of PNF techniques, physical therapy techniques that are really, you're trying to get a little bit of muscle activation while loosening up that muscle and that range that muscle and that joint can actually go to actually decrease injuries and prevent injuries. So it's not static stretching. Static stretching has been proven that it's really bad for you. I think that's a common thing that people do in the gym before they, runners do it, before they run, people in the gym before they go sit on the green turf and they'll go touch their toes or sit on their butt and, stretch, try to do the splits or whatever they try to do. I'm not saying that you're going to get injured doing that. All I'm saying is that research actually shows that actually decreases your performance. It actually affects your ability to actually recruit your muscles, and it actually decreases those fast switch muscle fibers, which is what the research articles showed that I posted about on my podcast page. So, that's kind of more the sciencey background of it. But I do want to go to Yusuf on this and see what his thoughts are on it because, I'm sure he's heard about that. And I'm curious to see and hear about if any of your clients have came up to you or talked to you about that, or if you heard friends or family do that, or have you ever gone through you thought were you under the preconceived notion that I need to stretch before I do any activity?
Yeah, man. I can go on for hours about this one too, man. This is probably the biggest thing that I really am so passionate about when it comes to physical activity. You have to prime yourself for the exercise. Like it is so specific to the individual, it's specific to the exercise that you're doing, it is specific to where someone's at in their fitness journey. Early on in my trainer career, when I was maybe the first 3 or 4 years, I was the trainer that would literally lead my client doing arm across the chest. All right, we're gonna count 30, 29, 28, 27. All right,
Right.
over your head now, 30 seconds. And I don't know, 30 seconds became this standard, there's so many things that I'm just kicking myself in the butt. And I'm just like, what the hell was I thinking? Um, I want everyone to move better. Apart from obviously building muscle, losing body fat, and living a healthy life, I care about my clients moving better. So when it comes to stretching, right, I am careful using the word stretching. That terminology to me kind of just sends the wrong message. Rarely does the average person in the gym have time to stretch after their workout. I am a big believer in this, is that the movements that you choose, the exercise selection that you choose should have some kind of like you have to consider what are you doing in that exercise. I'm a big believer in the fact that full range of motion in an exercise, whether it's bicep curl, chest press, shoulder presses, simple exercises, row exercises, right? Your range of motion, your access to range of motion, that will improve when you build strength. So, and this is all to say that lifting weights, resistance training is loaded stretching. Okay, if you're running through a row exercise, let's just take this for example. When I'm rowing, when I'm pulling my shoulder blade back, pulling my elbow back, I am contracting a muscle and I am technically stretching a muscle with load. I have a cable, I have a dumbbell, I have a weight, I have resistance. So I'm not letting this muscle just drop. I'm not letting the barbell fall on my chest. I'm not letting the dumbbells fall on my shoulders. I am controlling weight through a full range of motion. Why resistance training is the most incredible medicine for the world. It will improve your mobility, it will improve your range of motion when done under, hopefully under good instruction and good trainer. As a trainer, you're constantly looking at these type of things. Exercise is going to improve your range of motion. The stretching for 30 seconds, again, I don't know in what context really what I have most of my clients doing it, to be honest. Almost all of my clients programs for their workouts, I'm giving them priming mobility exercises. So again, I call them primers, I call them mobility exercises, I call them movements that you do before a bout of exercise to help you perform better for that specific day. For example, if we're doing a traditionally whatever a back and biceps day or upper body day for that matter, I like doing a lot of upper and lower body parts for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
We think about the movement pattern that we're doing, whether it's vertical pull, whether it's a lat pull down or a vertical press, right? A shoulder press, for example. We're moving our shoulder blade, we're moving our rib cage. Our rib cage is expanding, and it is they call them contracting and like expanding and contracting, right? So your
Contractional
shoulder
acts, yeah.
blade moves, your shoulder blade moves, your rib cage moves, your intercostals move, you're breathing, your spine is moving as well. So there's specific movements for each of those days that prime that movement. So it's never have I ever given somebody a arm. I don't know what you call this, right? A posterior shoulder stretch. I don't know.
Posterior
Um,
capsule stretch.
right? Like I don't see much of an application for that, specifically for like an upper body day, to be honest, right? I want my clients to move their shoulder blade through a range of motion, whether it's a body weight movement, whether it's with a resistance band, whether it's with even just body weight, literally moving your shoulder blade through a full range of motion. You have to prime the brain, you're priming the body, the muscles, the fascia, the tissues for the movement that you're doing. So everyone's mobility routine is so specific to that day for that individual's clients. So I'm a big believer in mobility and training and priming the movement patterns that you're doing that day, as opposed to simply static stretching.
And I think that's a great point. I think Yusuf makes a bunch of great points on that. And then I think the biggest thing is to try to debunk a lot of these beliefs because a lot of people come in and they're like, oh, I heard this and this from so and this I've learned about this. And it's kind of hard, it's like you're trying to tell people like, listen, what you kind of your preconceived notions about exercise and diet and stretching, are actually not true. But I think as coaches who have clients, as athletes, we are obligated to speak the truth and the knowledge that we've gained and learned and explain to them. It just takes a minute to kind of explain to them. And if they have further questions, I either tell them like, listen, we can talk about it after our session, or I can show you and kind of go through with you the research behind it, or my rationale about why I think this way or whatnot. I think that's the most important thing in regards to all of these topics, the last two episodes that we've been doing, or this episode and the last one. is just if clients have questions, answering them, because a lot of people think the same things. Everyone talks. So if you hear one thing, you're probably going to tell another person, and another person, and then another person. It's like the telephone game that everyone fails at. So it's kind of how I like to think about it. But in terms, we're going to end off on that topic because and we'll go to a new one. But we just, that was an important one for me, at least as a physical therapist, just because, um, you know, if I do have a high level athletic patient or athlete, and static stretching, it is kind of pertaining towards athletes, but it can actually pertain towards, runners and whatnot. But I would also recommend, hey, if you can, barely, get your hands past your knees, probably do some stretching before you do any activity. Okay. We're not saying it's horrible for you, but for athletes or kids or, people who want to go to the gym and train, um, and get into the gym, lift weights, start to lose weight. I recommend doing a dynamic warm up. I guarantee you, doing a dynamic warm up with some stability exercises, you're going to feel a lot better going into that than you would doing stretching only and then going into your exercises. I can guarantee you that. You can take that to the bank, and that one's on me. So now another topic, our last topic of the evening that I did want to talk about, and it's a little bit of a shorter topic because, um, it's something that I know we both deal with our clientele, and everyone has different, a lot going on in their lives, but, and you hear it a lot, but you need to spend, 2 to 3 hours in the gym in order to see results, which is just actually not true. Now I will say that, a lot of these HIIT classes, Orange Theory, I fucking hate Orange Theory. I think it's a whole sham and a scam. They teach you guys to do movement patterns and closed chain movement patterns with shit technique. And they don't actually teach you what you're doing, why you're doing it. And then if you don't know how to do it, they just come out with another exercise that mimics it, but doesn't actually solve the reason why you can't do a squat with a bar on your back. Um, I hate those exercises. I've worked with other PTs who said that they have clients who most of their clients are from Orange Theory Fitness because they get fucking injured from those people. And it's just personal trainers. That's all it is those personal trainers. There might be some coaches there that are actually really knowledgeable, but more times than not, I don't see them, or hear about them actually doing anything. Some people get really good benefit. I'm just saying my experience, what I've seen, what I've heard is it's not great. So, but off topic regards to that, like, we only got a couple minutes here, but it's a short topic. You don't need a lot to talk about it. You don't need to exercise 5 hours in the gym. It's actually only proven, you can go by whatever the CDC says and, 30 minutes a day, definitely get more than that. But if you're short for time, going to the gym is better than not going to the gym. If you can just get like 45 minutes or an hour and make the most of it, most bodybuilder workouts are not 3 or 4 hours long. It's quick and high intensity, high reps, lower volume, and you're just getting the work in, you're getting out, and then maybe you got to, recover. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I do subscribe to that kind of mentality too. When we come to the gym, we have specific goals. We have KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. We have certain movements that we have to get through, whether it's a squat pattern, a hinge pattern, and a row pattern. I mean, the way I structure a lot of my current in home and even in my gym sessions, we have specific goals for that day. I want to be able to get somebody to do a deep range of motion for hinging. So we may put them on a 45-degree hip extension exercise, right? Or a Romanian deadlift, for example, emphasizing, pausing, improving their range of motion in their hips, doing the best that we can to get the most bang for your buck out of that movement. I couldn't honestly care less about how long it takes when it comes to their time in the gym. Depending on their goals, I want people to be able to move better. I care about how well that exercise was executed, whether or not you were sweating, whether or not it felt hard or easy, or I'm out of breath versus, oh, I'm ready for the next one. I really value when we improve somebody's movement pattern. Can they hinge deep? And when they have to grab their bags, heavy luggage off the ground at the airport, are they able to using the hinge motion, being able to use driving a full foot pressure into the ground? Life changing, right? Certain cues that we use to improve someone's range of motion. Simple movements will always win versus let's see how many times we can do burpees. How many laps can we do around the gym? I care about movement. I care about improving someone's movement patterns. If somebody's having pain in their squat, why are you having pain in your squat? Let's put somebody in a better position, whether it's raising their toes or raising their heels or cueing, driving big toe in deep in the floor. There's a cue for everybody, but I care about movement patterns. So you don't definitely don't need to spend 3, 4 hours in the gym. I love the gym, so I spend 2 hours in the gym because I love it. It gives me so much stress relief. It is my own two hours I can not answer my phone, right? So it is truly a blessing to be able to move without pain and being in the gym. I care about movement patterns. I want to execute the movement efficiently and quality with the right muscles, with the right movement patterns. That's all that matters at the end of the day. You don't need to spend 3 hours in the gym, guys. No more.
You do not need to do that at all. Just get in and do what you can. And some nights you'll be able to do a lot, some nights you won't. But as long as you get in, stay committed to it, you're going to see the changes that you want to see. So we might do a part 3 of this. We're going to talk about it. But that's it for tonight's podcast episode, you guys. We want to thank you for listening and tuning in. Remember, like, subscribe, follow the podcast. But most importantly, subscribe. And other than that, have a great night, you guys.